that education can change lives, and we have been now on the field for over 25 years, and we have seen it happen. We have so many success stories where, thanks to education, children have totally broken the cycle of poverty in which they were born. You know, poor parents, illiterate parents could neither help their children at home, nor could they send their children for tuition, because that was very expensive and not affordable. So for me, arresting dropout of children going to school, especially in a system where you get promoted to class 8, whether you know anything or you don't know anything, it doesn't matter. We have children who are in class 8 and who cannot read or write properly, and that something was terribly wrong in schools, and that poor parents could not, help their children in any way. So it was my wish to be able to bridge that gap and to give the children not just education. Project Y is not a tuition center. I do not like it when I'm called a coaching center or a tuition center. No, Project Y wants to give the underprivileged child what a privileged child gets from home, which is support, which is a place where you are heard, which is access to, let's say, computers, which is access to, looking at a film on a laptop, which gives the child the possibility of going and seeing monuments in Delhi, or going and seeing a movie in a hall, the kind of thing that a child aspires to, a place to play, a place to be a child, a place where you have a voice. So it was that is what motivated me, that you give the children education, you give them a place to be children, because children otherwise are not children anymore. They're helping their mothers, they're hanging around on the streets, they're doing anything. So a place where the child could thrive and where we could give that support in the best way possible. I think that a couple of things. One is that I decided to work with whatever resources were available in the community, and I again wanted to give the women a chance, and I realized that there were very many women who were patient because they got married and at an early age. So my idea was that the uniqueness of Project Y, I would say, is that I would source my teachers from within the community where we work, and that was, I think, one of the best decisions, because it helped us not make mistakes, because those teachers understood where these children come from, what their problems are, what their situations at home are, that we as outsiders could never have figured out, because there are social issues, there are caste issues, there are gender issues, of course, there are faith issues, there are all kinds of issues, and it's very, very sensitive when you work in a slum. And believe me or not, I have 5 centers which are not very far from each other by any stretch of imagination, but where the problems are different because of the kind of children. So if you're working with agricultural labor children, it's a different ball game. If you're working with migrants from Bihar, it's a different ball game. If you're working in an area where there are more minorities than other, it's a different. And having teachers from the community make sure that we could address all those problems and find the right solutions. And most of my staff, if you talk to them, they really feel passionately about what they want to do, which I would not have got from an outside staff. They really want to change the lives of these children. They really want to take that one extra step that is needed. So yeah, so I think that this is one of the unique features of the community. Community-based model is to try to keep your entire operation in the community, which means that you do not get anything from outside the community. Now, what this does is that it, first of all, is a very feel-good factor for the community people who feel that my child is being taught by somebody who I can trust, by somebody who I know, by somebody who I know understands me, and somebody I can equate with, I can relate to. And because many times when parents from disadvantaged homes go to see their children, to go to a PTM or go to a meeting with their teachers of their children, what happens is that it's a monologue from the teacher to the parent, and the parent does not have the comfort factor, or is too nervous, or is too scared of even asking a question. Whereas when they come and talk to our teachers, they feel at home, they feel that yeah, I mean, here I can talk, and they can fight, they can even fight with us, but which is very healthy. They share all their opinions, they share their ideas, so that's a win-win factor. The other thing obviously is when you use the auto driver whose child is functioning with you, is part of your project, or the plumber whose daughter you are teaching, or when you use the resources from the community feels very happy because they are getting a financial help, and they so basically trying to keep as much as possible within the place where you work is a win-win factor in every way. The challenges and struggles are many. The key struggle obviously over the 25 years is sustainability in finances, because it's an important factor. But because we have been very hand-to-mouth, and as we keep adding new, as I said, we keep answering why, so there's always new things being added. So it's always been, hand-to-mouth to trying to meet the financial requirements. The other challenges has been, much as we were accepted by the community, the detractors that we had were often the local political powers, because they really felt that, educating these people, these children, was not the greatest thing. I mean, they could just go to school and get some kind of, half-baked diploma or something. Because, as I said, ways Project Y tries to give a voice to children, and there are very many people who don't want people to have a voice. I can tell you a small example. We were promised a space, and then they said they are building a building for us, and then it turned out to be they were starting to build toilets. And so we decided to do a little dharna kind of a thing. And what actually happened was that our local councillor was not very literate, and not literate in English at all. So he was brandishing a piece of paper and says, "No, it's not toilets, it's not toilets." And one of my students, whose English was good, went and took the paper and said, "Yes, but here it's written public conveniences, and that means toilets." So to see a child who was a child of one of the minions that who are under him, challenge him on the fact that he knew better English than him, I became enemy number one, because nobody wants that. And I was threatened, my daughter was threatened, there were some dark moments, but we just held on because I knew I was not doing anything wrong. And ultimately, I'm not saying we got the great support of everybody, but at least now we are accepted. But it took long years. I mean, in Okla, for instance, where you had to deal with the local mafia, because all the children were used to push, I mean not all, but many children were used to push drugs. And suddenly you arrive there and you try to, to take those children, give them an education, give them a proper life, give them a proper structure and all that. And you have the mafia on your back. But somehow, ultimately, I think it's much more our resilience, the fact that we didn't move out, no matter what happened. They used to break our school in Oakland, used to make it again, and they would break it again, and would make it. And ultimately, I think we wore them down, for want of a better word. And then somewhere the whole thing turned, because the people who were against us turned and became our support, and started saying, yes, what you're doing is good, and please don't worry, we will make sure that you're protected. And but there have been challenges at every level. So both from within, trying to get enough financial support, and from outside, trying to battle the kind of people who don't want the kind of work that we are doing to happen. But as I said, if you believe in what you do and you continue doing it, then nobody can touch you. And now we are there, and I think we are there to stay. Organic, as always. The first place was because after the death of my parents, I went into a very dark. I lost both my parents in the span of a year and a half. So I went into a very, very dark place, and nothing worked, and I was severely depressed, and nothing seemed to be helping. And there was a young girl who used to come and do my pedicure, manicure, whatever at home, because I'd become agoraphobic. I would not go out, I would not do anything. And one day she told me, she said, listen, there is this lady, but she is in a slum, and she has a temple, and she's a healer. Why don't you go and see her? And I was so desperate for wanting to get better that I said, okay, let's go, take me there. And it was a little temple, and this, what they call a mata, beautifully dressed in red and all, a Nepalese lady, tremendous energies. And so I started going there, and that's the place where we first started our work, because there was a beggar that, whose cries, seared my soul. He looked to be 15, but he was way in his 20s. And after losing his mother and sisters, he was really ill-treated, he was sodomized, he was mentally and physically both challenged. And somehow I threw a challenge to myself, a silent one, and I said, if you can do something for this person, for Manu, then you're worth it. So what do we do with Manu? Because I started calling up places, and the moment they knew he was above 15, they said no, that no institutions will take him. So I said, we have to work for him, within the community. So we started looking after him. So basically, Manu was there, and as I said, I wanted to do something for him. My dream was that I would love him to have his home, to be in a place where he could sit with friends. And at that time we started a special needs section also, so he used to come be there as a student. And so it was very organic, because to give Manu a future, I had to do something in the street where he was born. So automatically that became the first place where we started working. And then, children would come from other community, from other places, and then we realized there was another problem and another need. So how did I source my teachers? A lot of us worked, initially we started with 2 or 3 volunteers. There was one boy from Uganda, very nice, Stone, who was one of our first volunteers. And there were 2 other volunteers who started. With them we started with spoken English classes, because that's how we started, because all the parents would come and say, teach our children English, we want to learn English, spoken English classes. Well, I think that you should ask them the question, but I think that they like the atmosphere of the work. We are like a big family. I think that whenever they have personal problems, we have always been there to help them. I think that they know that they will not get a job anywhere else easily, because they don't have the degrees that go with it, but they have a lot of experience from working on the field. So I think they like Project Y, and I think they like what they do, and I think they see that what they are doing is worthy. One of them told me, one of my teachers who got married and left, but she told me, she says, ma'am, I could get much more money working in a factory or something, but here I'm somebody. When I walk on the streets, the parents recognize me, and then they talk to me and they say, hello ma'am, how are you? And that kind of dignity I would not get from another job. So it was the dignity that they got from being teachers, to the fact that they got a job when they didn't have a job and couldn't have a possibility, and the fact that we try to treat them as family. We try to have lunch together, we give them a lunch, we sit down, we chat, we have outings, so we are bonding. So I think it was mutual. We liked them, and they liked us, and that's how they stayed. Some of them are there with me for 25 years almost, from the time I began.